And welcome back to the Los Angeles Athletic Club for the men's Race for 8 round of 16 opening rally with Chip Morales diving in versus Luis Cordova. And there's a quick side out. Chip is slow getting up off the hardwood here.
What I worry about, Dave, with Chip is him expending too much energy. This is a best 2 out of 3 game match. Chip against Luis Cordova in their previous 2 meetings, both won by Luis Cordova, has faded late because he has not been able to stay with Luis Cordova physically. And you see Chip, Dave, laying out on that first point. There was no need for that dive there. That's just wasted energy. And you see Luis Cordova very rarely waste energy. He's very economical.
Already 2-0 with Cordova taking down Chip Morales in the opening rally and right afterwards. Cordova says, I have more stamina than Chip does. Chip felt very comfortable pulling Luis Cordova's name last night in that blind draw, even though he's never defeated Luis Cordova. And there's a skip in right there.
Good ball.
Referee says it's good. I thought that ball skipped.
Play 2.
Oh, and Luis Cordova was leaning to the left. Chip serves down the right. Now tied it up at 2. That was a beautiful serve from Chip Morales right down the right wall. Luis Cordova leaning to the left. In fact, Cordova didn't even get out of the box. Now up 3-2 is Luis Cordova.
Well, that's the second underhanded off-speed paddle kill for Luis Cordova, and he makes that look so easy. Chip Morales, in contrast, Dave, has to hit every shot with 100% energy to end rallies. Very nice back wall, front wall, left wall kill from Chip Morales. That's one of those balls that gets a little bit too far out in front of you, Dave, and you end up catching it a little out in front, and the ball hits the front wall, then the side wall, and there's a beautiful textbook flat rollout from Chip Morales. Remember, Dave, this is a huge match for Chip Morales. He can keep his hopes for Seattle alive with a win here. If he does not win this match, Dave, he cannot qualify for Seattle. So it's all on the line here for Chip Morales, and he knows it, and he's playing like it right now with another flat rollout, that time with his left hand from behind the restraining line.
5, play 3.
Now Morales up 5-3.
Chip completely off balance. You don't want to let the ball go through your legs, Dave, and then try and pick it up. You want to let that ball bounce to your left, and then you can turn and be in a good position with balance to shoot the ball. But when you let that ball go through your legs, Dave, very difficult. That time Chip sets up and hits a beautiful 2-inch high kill. Dave, that's the 4th ball he's hit 2 inches high or lower already early in this first game.
6-4.
Score here is 6-4. And make that 7-4 with Cordova now giving a couple free points to Chip. Chip Morales from Fresno, California. Luis Cordova from Juarez, Mexico. Luis Cordova is playing inspired handball as of late, and he was so honored to get the invite to Los Angeles. I mean, he's really been one of those players, Dave, that if you looked at the beginning of the season to now, just how much progress that this kid has made. First trying to qualify and now being invited. It has to be such a great feeling.
He's knocked off some really high-quality players this season. Hasn't yet knocked off one of those top 8 guys, or at least not one of the guys that's ranked in the top 8 now.
Imagine how much confidence he'd get if he did.
Well, he did beat Armando Ortiz in the last event, so I'll have to correct myself there. Armando came into that last event ranked number 8. But he's certainly knocking on the door of beating those top 6 guys. He's taken Nadi Alvarado Jr. to a tiebreaker. Actually ends up playing Nadi seemingly in every quarterfinal throughout the last 12 months. look at a guy like Luis Cordova, Dave, and Vic Perez, who we just watched, and they're so fit, and a lot of people chalk that up to just being young, but I think you and I know, Dave, that we were 21 once or 22 also, and we were tired at that time too, just like we are now. It's not just about being young. These guys take a lot of pride in their conditioning. Vic Perez's coach just telling me that he came into the pool the other day here at the LAAC and saw Vic underwater holding his breath. Vic says that helps him build up his lung capacity. These are the kind of things these guys are doing to prepare for these matches. Luis Cordova just plays handball from 7 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. I think that's pretty good practice also.
Would you consider Cordova a get artist?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the strengths of his game. Tommy Burnett told me, Dave, the Hall of Fame coach at Missouri State, watching an amazing get there from Luis Cordova, but he told me watching Danny Cordova that he's only seen one other guy that actually is the ball. He's seen guys that react to the ball, anticipate to the ball, but he feels like Danny Cordova actually blends with the ball just like Dave Chapman did. It made some sense to me. It's not making any sense to you, but I feel that way about Luis Cordova. He's got a great feel for the court and where the ball is going, and he always seems to be there.
7, play 10.
7 serves 10.
Hold it. Replay.
I thought that was a great compliment that Tommy Burnett gave Luis's brother Danny.
7, play 10.
But you're not necessarily a big fan of Danny's game, though.
I love the family and I love Danny.
But his game is what's in question right now.
The family's great. And Luis Cordova is going to be a proud papa here soon.
That's a terrible shot from Chip.
I don't know how well Chip's going to handle these long rallies that Cordova is giving him right now. Just barely dug that ball out on the ground. Chip doesn't believe he got it. That's why you saw that lackadaisical hit. Look how close these players are playing, Dave. Cordova gets everything. This has to be frustrating.
That could have been an avoidable there, Dave, as Luis bounced right into Chip. I don't know if we have replay capability there, Dave, but that's a huge back wall setup. And Luis goes from in front of the short line, bounces back diagonally right into Chip's left hip.
So it's not an avoidable if he doesn't get hit.
I think there was a little bit of contact there.
Well, your contact's different.
I think there was contact. This is a couple shots later, but let's see if we can pick it up here. Watch this here, Dave. He jumps back actually
9,
into
play
him.
10.
No contact.
No. Okay.
But I agree with you. I think Chip was saying, hey, I'm more of a safety hold where you're holding up because you think the player's so close that you might get injured, and therefore that could cause the avoidable hinder. I mean, if I'm going to do a safety hold because I don't want to blow out my shoulder because you're standing so close to me, that should be an avoidable.
Well, that becomes the issue. Is it an avoidable if you're too close, or does it have to be contact for it to be an avoidable? I felt like there were a couple points in my match, Dave, where you would have been saying I avoidably hindered by crossing Vic's path. No? Okay. I felt it a couple times when he had a ball that came, I hit a ball that came front wall, left side wall real slow, and I actually crossed the path of the ball, but there was still plenty of time for him to cover. But I was thinking about you during those rallies. No, I was, though. It's flattering.
I was actually getting a pedicure and a manicure at the time. It was hard to see the monitor because my foot had cotton swabs in between the toe cuticle area. So that was your match then?
No.
During the pedicure, that was your match?
During the manicure.
During the no? Was it your match?
No.
That was on? No. Okay.
No.
Well, I did it with somebody's match earlier today. I think there was only one. So
yeah.
You're watching the WPH Simple Green Race for 8. We are live at the Los Angeles Athletic Club, where Jimmy Jacobs, Art Linkletter, and the crew came in and
11, place 10.
reformed this facility and made it the super handball facility that it has become by building the first ever glass sidewall and glass back wall for TV viewing. And Jimmy Jacobs won that national championship for the LAAC. It was a great time for handball.
That's a very difficult shot that Chip Morales executes. That ball is dipping off the right side wall. Chip has to get his knee touching the ground there to keep his
12,
hand
place
parallel
10.
with the ball. It's so easy to hit that shot into the ground, but Chip just flat rolls it. And now an error on the return of serve from Luis Cordova. I'm expecting a tiebreaker here in this match, Dave, and that's going to be my only prediction. I know you like to hold me to my predictions,
13, place 10.
but I'm not going to predict a winner. I'm just going to predict a tiebreaker. The last time these guys met, Dave, was at the Nationals in 2010, where it was Luis Cordova winning the first game 21-19. And then there's an amazing
Point.
kill shot and get from Chip Morales and then Luis Cordova. But Chip Morales winning that first game 21-19 against Luis Cordova. And you remember at that time, Dave, about 2 years ago, there was a lot of sort of smack talk from Chip Morales saying that this will be the new
11,
Chip after he
place
lost to
13.
Luis Cordova in Tucson a couple months before, and he came out and won that first,
Hold
lost
it.
the first game 21-19. Chip blitzed Luis Cordova 21-1 in that second game, and then lost the tiebreaker to Luis Cordova 11-7. That was a big
I'll look
match
out
for
for
both
it,
those
yeah.
guys. As you know, with the rankings, Dave, a quarterfinal finish
11, 13.
significant compared to a round of 16 finish.
I do remember that. There's been a lot of new chips, by the way. The reinvention of Chip Morales has happened about 3 or 4 times, but this new one seems to be a little bit different than the previous times. He says he's
14,
happy
11.
for the first time in his life.
I always thought he was happy. A good-natured young man.
And another
12,
point
place 14.
being awarded for Luis Cordova. 12-14 is the score here. It's the opening round of the men's round of 16. I call it the round of 12.
I thought that ball was down.
Vic Perez giving
Yeah, it was before the short line.
giving the point to
13,
Cordova
place
there.
14.
Not a good return there from Chip, and Luis takes care of it. But the last thing you want to do, Dave, as a service returner is bring the ball off the front wall, sidewall into your opponent's strong hand. That's
14, place 14.
That's the bread and butter shot for all the top pros.
place 14.
The score, Dave, I believe is 15-14.
That's right.
And that's a good get from Chip Morales. And that's the shot that Luis Cordova Sr. hates, that Luis Cordova Jr. hits. But that time he hits the inside-out paddle kill and wins the rally with it. He could have done anything with that shot, Dave. He telegraphed it. Chip knew he was going down the right wall, but that ball just
16,
clipped the
place
right wall
14.
just as Chip was trying to make the get. And Luis wins the rally with it.
And there's a point for Chip Morales.
That was a sloppy error from Luis. Chip had him in a tough spot, but he could have hit that with his left
15,
and returned
place
it to the front
16.
wall, or it was an easy flip into the back wall, and he made the error.
Point.
This is best 2 out of 3 to 25 tiebreaker, also to 25. Yet the win
16,
by 2
place
here,
16.
and it's rally scoring. So virtually there's a point
Short.
after every play, unless you see a short like that. But once the ball's in
Second
play,
serve.
very rarely do we stop action. We play all bad bounces, to include the court microphone. Did that affect you at all, Dave? There is a little microphone sticking into the court there.
I didn't notice it, but I do disagree with one of the rules that we created here with the back wall coming down low. If the ball goes out of the side on the right side, I don't think that should be a point, or a point.
Hold it.
Should be a replay, because you can hit a
Contact.
good shot.
Okay.
It actually can clip that right side wall up high if you hit a good ceiling shot. And if that ball is out of the court, you've lost the rally. I
No,
can understand the
actually-
ball going over the back wall.
No, over the side, it's just a do-over.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I was
over
confused.
the side is a do-over,
'Cause
and if
in-
it
in-
hits the fan, it's a side out. The
Okay.
fan being right in the
16,
corner of
Okay.
the side wall, and there's no real.
So if it goes out the side in that back sort of 15% of the court, it's a
do-over.
replay.
Yeah,
okay.
because it really a regulation
serve.
court would have a wall going all
Because
the way
I hit a couple of pretty good ceiling shots that I thought were going to go out of the side, and I was afraid of losing the rally, but I guess I didn't have to be.
That's why the rules committee member came back in and reiterated that off the side wall is just a do-over.
Okay.
And you can see it right here with this camera angle. Look to the right side of your screen up above the door. You see an
17
opening.
plays 16.
That's fairly low. I would say 14, 15 feet off the ground. That's not normal. So the ball goes out there. It's just a do-over. But if it goes over the back wall, this is one of the lowest back walls we've seen on the tour. Jake Plummer's event up in Idaho might be one of the lowest. It looks high from this angle, but that's just our perspective.
16.
Right.
It's as low as that side wall on the right. So if it goes over the back, it's a side out or a point depending on who hit it.
Well, during our next timeout, we'll have our camera operator director, Omar Lemus, take us on a tour of this court.
I'm not sure if he can do it from that angle, but let's just see if he can.
Well, I think he can. I know where he's positioned. And Chip Morales with an off-balance, one-footed
second timeout.
kill.
Score
Beautiful. He
17-18.
needed that shot there, Dave.
Chip Morales rolling that ball out. Let's see if Omar Lemus can just look straight up from his position. I'm not sure his camera can swivel. Now, he calls his tripod for that camera the Mercedes of tripods. As you can look over here, this is the back wall looking from the left to the right. That opening that you see on the side wall, if the ball goes out, we redo it. We redo the play, but if it goes over the back wall, then it is a side out or a point, depending on who hit the ball.
Which I think is a great rule because, as you said, Dave, some of these guys will just send the ball out of the court.
On purpose, just so they get back into the server's box. So those players that have used that technique in the past are going to find out that's not going to be allowed here. And anywhere else on the tour. Now, when we go to the Players' Championship, that has the same type of facility with the same type of back wall.
17 plays
so
18.
you'll see that rule probably taking effect there. 17-18 is the score. A lot of congestion in this match, Dave.
Chip needs to put that ball away.
That was an error from Cordova, and then Chip sends a worse error.
Oh, there's a terrible shot under pressure there, Dave. And
19
I believe the
plays
reason
17.
that playing rally scoring is so tiring, Dave, is because you feel the pressure on every shot. It's not as though in regular scoring you're always feeling pressured because a side out doesn't cost you anything. But here in rally scoring, Dave, you actually feel that push on every point. I think that takes a lot out of you psychologically, which leads to taking a lot out of you physically. I think the worst trap that you can get into playing rally scoring is if you build a lead and start thinking to
18
yourself,
plays
well, if I
19.
trade side outs, I'm in a good position here, because a lot of times
Point.
you don't end up trading side outs.
That's true. We're all
Great
together at 19 here.
plays 19.
Great serve from Chip there.
Short.
And Chip had Luis leaning once again. Chip's really developed that head fake and the
Second
ability to
serve.
bounce the ball and hit it either down the left or right with the same bounce, which is the key to disguising that serve.
Hold it. Replay.
It just seems like Chip has to hit perfect shots, Dave, to win rallies, where Luis Cordova is just sort of
19
floating
plays
around the
19.
court, not expending as much
Short.
energy.
Chip trying to sell it with a fist
That
bump.
looks short, Dave.
It was short. The ref
Short.
did
I
call
saw
it short.
Okay. Andy, you want
That
to be a
was
line judge?
way short, Dave. I mean, that was, you know, bounced before the line. It wasn't even on the
And then
line.
Paul, can you be another line judge?
Which is true, but Chip is getting a
You're
free
good right there.
rest out of this without having to take a
We got
timeout.
Andy and Paul now. Okay.
This is not the play in question. This was the hinder call here.
Second
Which,
serve.
looking at that, Dave, I'm
Yeah.
not sure that hinder need to be called there. You think about the progression of these two guys, Dave, playing in the qualifier just a year ago or 2 years ago. Now here they are, both ranked inside the top 12, playing in the main draw of the pros.
But that's due to participation,
20
don't you
plays
think? I mean, they
19.
participated and they played well.
Well, I think
Short.
their games are also improving. You've seen some names fall off the rankings, guys that aren't playing quite as well now. We won't name names. And then you're seeing
Second
other guys
serve.
moving up in the rankings, like these two guys, for example.
That was a terrible shot from Chip.
Vic Perez, another guy who's put his name in that mix, and I think we'll see a lot of him in the coming events. We won't see him in Seattle.
The only way we would see him in Seattle is if we invited some of the top 8s and they decided not to make it. You never know. There could be a lot of weddings, a lot of babies. Now, your
21
wife is
plays
due to have
19.
her first child with you. That is going to be May, what? What's the due date, 13th?
May 29th.
Oh, so it's afterwards. Okay. I was going to say, I thought maybe you could be, and it could happen. She could go into labor early.
I'll be chartering a plane in Seattle, should anything happen.
I'll donate my Tahiti
Hold it. Replay.
or my Fiji money.
Replay.
Okay.
Replay.
I don't know exactly where we're going yet. I know it's kind of a toss-up.
Yo, hold it. I called it over. There's like a little bit of contact.
Frustrating there
There's
as a player,
contact.
Dave, because they don't know when the hinder was called. It actually was a hinder about 7 shots
Yeah,
ago.
there was like
I
2 or
think
3
Chip thinks
rallies
he's
ago.
calling it on the shot that he just hit.
You guys are still kind of close.
I think
called it,
sometimes,
like,
Dave,
way
as a
before,
referee,
though.
when you've called a hinder and no one heard it,
Yeah.
But the worst thing is when you call contact
You
and
guys-
there was
yeah,
no
okay.
contact, and
Alright.
that's what they're saying. Chip looks over at Luis. Did
Alright,
you
guys
touch
are a
me?
little
No,
bit close,
I didn't
though.
touch you.
That's what I thought.
But see,
Alright.
the ref can call contact on like a safety hinder. Like if he believes that a player is going
21
to get
plays
hurt, he
19.
can't call it. And that right there is where he called the contact.
yeah, I agree with Chip there, Dave. That was not a good call. That went against Chip. And when Chip has his feet set, Dave, he's hitting some really great shots, and that's a beautiful wide-angle corner kill, and you see the enthusiasm from Luis Cordova. But Luis has made his hand errors, Dave, when he's hitting shots, particularly with his left hand facing the front wall, with his feet and shoulders facing the front wall. He's catching the ball on the wrong part of his hand. When he's able to get himself square to the side wall and stepping into the shot, he's hitting the ball extremely well. But that time, Luis Cordova had Chip leaning to his right, hit the wide-angle corner kill. Now, a lot of times, Dave, if you have your opponent leaning to the right and you pinch the corner and you don't pinch it wide enough, they can recover easily, and that's a big setup for them. But that's why you have to alter the angles on that corner kill, and you'll hear Nadi Alvarado Jr. and John Bike talking about that a lot when you can get them to talk handball strategy, is mixing up the angle on your corner kill.
There's, I believe, Waif Reisner, who's almost 100 years
Resuming
of
play.
age here at the handball
22
facility.
plays 19.
And yet he still beat you in handball yesterday. I mean, it was only 1 game to 15, but he did win.
He had 14 in the serve. They have wide doors here, able to let the scooter get onto the court.
20 plays 22.
And he cracked it on the serve. Not much I could do. Didn't know he had that serve.
Contact?
Chip there set himself too early for that shot, Dave. He should have been a little bit lighter on his
20
feet there.
plays
Would have had a
22.
good opportunity to react and put that shot away.
I don't know why Chip
point.
was lobbying to play that last one over. He had Luis out of position, and he just because Luis touched him on the way by, Chip just said no contact.
21 plays 22.
21 to 22.
This
Chip
is the
will-
point of the game, Dave, where Chip is really starting to feel the pressure because he knows a win here and he's becomes eligible.
Hold it. Replay.
That should have been unavoidable there, David. I know that you'll agree with me.
He tried to get out of the way.
Even if a player tries to get out of the way, that's not an excuse for a hinder. I hear this a lot from these referees. I could try to not go 55 when I'm driving and still get a ticket for going 55 and a
21
35.
plays 22.
Just because
Short.
a player's trying to get out of your way does not mean avoidable not make.
Both agree. Second serve.
That was a very close call there that went against Chip. I thought that might have just cleared the line, but it was called short, and it's a second serve from Chip. Chip playing that way too safe, Dave. And that's what happens, Dave. He didn't want to miss there on that back wall setup, so he opens up his hand and hits the ball about 50% down the middle of the front wall, and then Luis Cordova does take the chance and wins the rally because of it. That could be the
23
turning
plays
point here in this
21.
game.
23 to 21. Chip was in a great position, and he gets a point back there. Now 23 to 22, and a timeout's going to be called from
Foul?
Chip Morales. You're watching the WPH Simple
You
Green
wanna
race
take a
for 8.
timeout? Last timeout.
Let's take a quick
Score is
instant replay
22,
of that last
23.
shot, Dave, and that was a huge pressure shot with Luis Cordova serving at 23-21. If he wins that point, Chip misses this fist return kill. He's pretty much in a position where he can't lose this game at 24-21. This is the previous point where Chip let up a little bit on that back wall shot, and Luis Cordova hits a beautiful natural right at Chip's feet, but it's the next point where Luis hit a pretty good serve off that right side wall just about 3 inches high off the right sidewall crack, and Chip comes in and hits a punch kill on the return.
change?
Beautiful
Alright, you
shot.
get
And let's see
2
it right here.
minutes.
That was a nice fist shot.
Is he going,
Luis,
Dave, that
he's
low,
getting
or
the
is he
glove
trying
change
to
and a
punch
timeout.
that ball about 3 feet high?
I think he's trying to hit it about a foot over to the right and about 8 to 10 inches high with power.
I think it's one of those kind of two-way shots where you're aiming about 2 or 3 feet high, but if it ends up being a little bit lower, even better. It's a
Yeah.
good shot either way.
It takes a lot of guts to take that shot, but it makes you wonder how Chip feels that he's so gutsy to take that shot, but the one that came off the back wall a previous rally that he hit 4 feet high down the middle because he wanted to play safe, just not the right time to play safe. And I believe the reason why Chip did that is he was frustrated with the referee for not giving him the avoidable hinder. He also felt like he got that short serve over the line. And these are the sort of things that happen with Chip Morales. We've seen it for years that he needs to get over. Now, remember when Chip was playing in Fresno and he was fist pumping and getting himself into it, he was rolling, a steamroller. But he's not doing that now, and he's not allowing the referee to kind of get into his head just a little bit. Now, he was jaded on that avoidable hinder call. Referee said that he was trying to get out of your way, but, you know, for those that are playing handball, you could try to get out of somebody's way every single time and purposely be in their way by trying to get out of their way. I mean, I could play you, Dave, and every time you took a back wall shot, I could run across and say I'm trying to get out of your way and get hit by the ball, correct?
And you have.
I do that.
Chip's heart is beating extremely fast right now, Dave, with the nervous
All right,
energy.
Resuming play.
It only takes one good serve from Chip, though. Now, he's got free
22
points going
plays
down the right.
23.
He's not going to serve down the right here, which kind of surprises
What was
me.
that?
I'm
He has
surprised
22. He had
Chip's
scored a
not
point.
serving
Yeah.
that natural to Luis Cordova's left, because that's Luis's weakest
22
return.
plays
It also
23.
would bring the ball back to Chip's right, but we're seeing Chip serve more down the right. That was not a good serve, and Luis pushed them back. Here's a huge setup for Luis. And inexplicably, Dave, Luis Cordova missing his bread and butter. That's the shot that pays his bills right there, Dave.
23 plays 23.
Hard to believe that he missed that.
Short.
Ooh, that was close. I would appeal that.
I believe that was short.
They both agree.
I'd like to see the replay of that, but we're not going to go there because you never know what's going to happen in this next one.
Second serve.
We don't like to replay first serves because run the risk of missing the next rally. That's a great return from Luis Cordova. And Chip did all he could with that. And Luis is off balance there. Now it's Chip dictating play.
You've seen Luis pick the ball up just a little bit with a little bit more power now.
Chip Morales went with the 3-wall shot, Dave. A little bit too short, but Luis doesn't do anything with it. And that time it looked like Luis was going for a scoop 2-wall shot, Dave, and that's one of those times when the ball, I believe, ended up about 4 feet
24
lower
game
than he
point,
aimed,
says
and it was a
23.
flat rollout.
This is game point now. Let's see what happens after that flat roll. Luis serving for the game.
This is the shot that he wants. And he does not let that ball drop. Amazing gettability, though. And Chip goes for it with the fist pump, Dave. Absolutely unbelievable shot.
Chip Morales is going to send this one into overtime. The winner has to win by 2. We're tied at 24.
24 plays 24.
That was nerves of steel, Dave Fink. And he
Point.
gets it. That's the 25th point. Now serving
I
to
called
win
it
the
good.
match. Excuse
They
me,
both
win the
agree.
first game.
This is the second consecutive Cordova match that we've webcasted, Dave, that went to overtime. Daniel Cordova had 10-10 in the
25 game
tiebreaker and
points,
lost.
there's
Of course, they
24.
play win by 1 there, but here we are in overtime in one of the biggest matches of the year as far as Seattle participation goes.
Chip going down to the ground. This could be it right here. If it doesn't make the front wall, it does. So Chip with the left hand, playing safe. And Chip is unable to get that ball past Cordova.
Well, Chip didn't put enough natural on that. Luis not letting the ball drop right now off the back wall. He's hoping that Chip misses, and he doesn't.
There it is. Chip Morales takes it.
Replay. Contact.
There's replay here. I guess we're going to replay that
Okay.
strange contact call. But
a-
they both agree to it.
It's a gentleman's
25.
game, Dave, and you see it there from Chip Morales. He
points
would have
serves
won the game
24.
there with a flat rollout, but instead he's going to replay it. That's a good
Come back to
return
haunt
from
him.
Luis.
This will be
Luis
a
now just
setup.
not relaxed, not going low, and
Nice
that
game.
time Chip
Game.
does. Luis Cordova, just like his brother
Okay, yeah,
Danny,
that's fine, yeah.
Dave had the match or the first game on his hand there. Didn't go for the kill though. He let the ball stay too high, stiff-armed a back wall shot that Chip Morales was able to return, and it's Chip Morales erasing that 24-23 deficit and turning it into a 26-24 first game win.
Unbelievable change of events there. Toward the end, looked like Chip was down on himself, a little upset with the referee. He was able to put that stuff behind him. He had a couple good serves, a couple flat rollout kills with a lot of ice in his veins. Congratulations, Chip Morales taking game number 1, 26-24. You're watching the WPH Simple Green Race for 8 in Los Angeles. Want to thank Far West Meats, home of Hot Links. They have been the big sponsor of the U.S. Open for a few years now. In fact, since 2006, you see them out there with their mobile barbecue van. Go online to check them out at farwestmeats.com. Smoked sausage. Want to thank them, as well as Mintech and the Simple Green, namesake of this pro tour that we have going on throughout this season of 2011 and 12, and they hopefully will be back in 2013. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Stick around here at racefor8.com. Angeles at the LAAC for the WPH Simple Green Race for 8. Chip Morales wins the first one, 26-24, taking it to overtime versus Luis Cordova. And now Cordova's going to try to see if he can stop
ready?
this freight train that
All right. Luis serves
he ran
this
into in the
second
first game. Both of these players, Dave, playing very close in that first game. A lot of tight congestion.
0 play 0.
I don't like the way Chip is returning this underhand lob serve from Luis Cordova.
Point.
Chip rushing it, Dave, and trying to either take it out of the air or on the bounce. I don't see what kind of shot
One,
quality
play
shot he
zero.
can hit from that position. Chip's got a strong overhand left. He can either drive the ball or hit to the ceiling. And the Cordova family, Dave, has to be wondering where were these kill shots at the end of the first game.
Two,
Luis
play
just
zero.
rolling out 2 balls, making it look easy. I believe we'll see Luis Cordova win this game comfortably, Dave, and then we're going to see a really tight tiebreaker.
Point.
Chip looks
What was that?
really flat right now, Dave. Doesn't look like he has the spring in his step, and that's
came off the back wall.
pretty
You're able to see
common
it off the
after
back
you've
wall.
won an emotional first game, particularly after that great comeback that Chip made.
Yeah. Okay, next time I'll call it. 3, play 0.
Chip lobbying for a hinder call there, but Vic Perez not giving it to him that time.
Four, play 0.
There's another point for Cordova, now 4-0. You're right, you know, after one of those
Good call.
very intense closings of a game or even a match, where you were able to bring yourself so emotionally
5, play
into
0.
the event that you're playing, Dave, you see that a player, maybe in the next round or even in the next game that they're playing, just not able to match that intensity.
Well,
And we're seeing that some of the great champions know how to tap into it, the Paul Brady's, the Nadia Alvarado seniors. But how can a player at this level
6,
break
play
into
0.
that, tap into that intensity again?
well, I think all the great athletes throughout time have had that even keel mentality where every point is a new point, every game is a new game. But you see a player like Chip who's got all the tools, but he plays more of an emotional type of game. He's up and down with a
7,
bad
play
call or
0.
how he's playing or how his opponent's playing, rather than just focusing on the next point and playing the ball. Luis Cordova is one of those athletes, Dave, that is on an even keel. He doesn't care if he's down 20-0 or up 20-0 or the score is tied
Call
at
timeout,
24.
Chip.
He's going to be playing the
Yeah,
same
okay, it's your
game.
first timeout. Score
And
is
that's something
8-0.
that Chip has struggled with, I believe, Dave, throughout his handball career, is those roller coaster of emotions. And I believe that's the reason that we've seen Luis Moreno so dominant this season, Dave. Not so much his game improving, but we've seen Luis Moreno in the past, Dave, just sort of throw away matches when he wasn't happy with the way he was playing or wasn't happy with a call or something that his opponent might have said to him. But now he's very much in the present, and that's the key. That's
What was
what
that?
people pay sports psychologists $1,000 an hour for, is to figure out how to play in the
Marcus,
present.
you wanna be
Luis
line?
Cordova has that ability. Chip Morales
Okay.
struggling with that right now.
All right, resuming play.
Now we're
8,
back in.
play 0.
Score is 8-0 here in game number 2, after Cordova lost the first one 26-24.
I also believe, Dave, that there could be some fatigue on the part of Chip Morales, who put so much into winning that first game. And as I mentioned, Luis Cordova just looks like he's floating around the court, Dave. He can play 20 games of handball in one day and play exactly the same in the 20th game as he does in the
9,
first.
play
Chip
0.
Morales' level, though, seems to drop considerably with each game, and I can certainly relate to that. Paul Godina, Dave, telling me between games that it's a lot about your breathing while you're hitting shots and while you're breathing between points.
Hold it, replay.
If you don't have the right breathing patterns while you're hitting the ball, it can deprive you of that oxygen, makes it very difficult to recover. You need more time than that 10 seconds between points to recover.
That ball is being replayed. Chip Morales
9,
taking a
play
lot of
0.
time getting back into
Short.
his return area there. Short ball being called.
Second serve.
Well, we saw in the first match today, Dave, Vic Perez nearly coming back from a 10-0 deficit in rally scoring. Doesn't look like Chip has the desire to come back here in this game. It looks like he might just be saving it for the tiebreaker. Chip, Dave, I think we could say, would not be a
1,
good
play
poker
9.
player. He gives away exactly how he feels at all times. You always know where Chip Morales stands in a match just by looking at his body language. You see those shoulders slump a little bit, Dave, and even the conviction in his swings go away.
And another point for Luis Cordova. Let's listen for the score.
10, play 1.
10 serves 1 here.
And Chip was rolling that ball out flat in the first game, and that's just a terrible lack of concentration shot.
Luis Cordova serving here at 11-1.
I watched Chapman, Dave, in one of his first tournaments back playing against Nadi Alvarado Jr. Won the first game 21-20, didn't even attempt to return the serve in the second game. Nadi Alvarado served 21 lob serves that Dave Chapman didn't even move for. Dave thinking that he might have enough left for the tiebreaker, but he lost 11-0 in the tiebreaker as well.
Nadi Jr. said in all of his years of playing pro ball, he's never seen that before. And he said, I almost double faulted on one serve on purpose to see what would happen. Guy's given me 21 straight points, and at about 15, he said, I accidentally served a short and thought, you know what, I might just get another one to see what happens here. But he said, you know what, if guy's going to give you a game, you just take it. Try to get it over with as quick as possible.
I think it would have been funny at about 20-0 if Nadi started double faulting on purpose, and then Dave would have also started double faulting. That was before the code of conduct, so there wouldn't have been any fines enforced there, Dave. We know now that players are very weary of that code of conduct.
4 plays 11.
It's a very serious thing.
Well, this new race season has allowed these players to communicate more with the rules committee more than ever. When I say communicate, I mean biscuits and gravy being brought to the office during breakfast hours, massages.
Particularly after a temper tantrum when they know that they're being on
Audited.
trial.
Audited,
yeah. When they know there's an investigation, they get very friendly.
They invite you to be part of their elite camps and pay for your room and your flight.
5 plays 12.
And there's been a lot of investigations during this race season.
That's true. Unfortunately, we can't disclose any of them. They're all confidential in nature.
Put it this way, you've been involved in every one of those investigations. In some form or another. Now it seems like Chip's more into the rally, Dave. More into the second game. And as I said that, I got the announcer's curse.
It's very difficult, Dave, as a player to just give away a game and then start another game with a new mentality, because you still are sort of in that lethargic state of mind where you're not moving, you're sluggish, you're unhappy with yourself.
Score here is 14-5, and it looks like this men's round of 16 action will go to a tiebreaker between Luis Cordova and Chip Morales.
Luis Cordova has to be kicking himself right now, Dave. He was one swing away from winning that first game and would be on his way
15 plays 5
to winning this match and clinching another quarterfinal berth, and also solidifying his spot in Seattle with this win. But he'll have to do it in a tiebreaker here. He's more than likely in Seattle, Dave, but mathematically he's not yet clinched his spot. With a win here against Chip, he would clinch that spot.
Now Dave Chapman, who is in the race standings, has declined his offer to Seattle based on an injury of his right knee. So that means that everybody else kind of moves up the ladder. Those players are saddened by the fact that Dave Chapman's career looks like it's over, but they're happy with the fact that they've got enough points to be his replacement.
Second timeout, scores 18-5.
Well, I think if Dave Chapman's able to get that knee back in shape, we'll see him sporadically throughout the next couple of years at a few big tournaments that he chooses to play. But if he can't get that knee healthy, I don't think we'll see much of Dave Chapman, unfortunately.
Well, Luis Cordova is taking care of game number 2 here. We're not to that 25th point yet. He's just staying on the court. He's trying to get to that tiebreaker. He knows what's at stake. He was here talking to the rankings committee prior to going onto the court, so he's pretty much aware of what happens, you know, what stands in front of him as he tries to get to the TPC at LAAC. Talk about him if he loses here. Could Cordova still be invited? Is there any scenario that would allow him to come in?
Well, he's likely to be invited even with a loss. I would put his percentages at over 90% even with a loss here, because Chip would then have to go on and win his next round against Sean Lenning, and Emmett Pashot would have to go on and advance to at least the semifinals. So there would be a lot of upsets that would have to happen for Luis Cordova to get knocked out of Seattle, even if Luis were to lose this match.
Luis pokes that ball to the front wall. Here's a big setup for Cordova.
And Luis had virtually the same shot to win the first game. He was a little bit farther back and a little bit more towards the right side wall, but he didn't go for the bottom board. And as a result, it was Chip Morales who made that amazing comeback. We've seen Chip, Dave, win some really clutch games and matches this Race for 8 season. Remember, he was nearly eliminated from the qualifier against Carlos Chavez at Salt Lake City when Carlos led 24-23 in their qualifier final.
19.
He came back and won that. He wouldn't even be in the discussion for Seattle had he lost that point, Dave. He also had that clutch win against Tommy Little deep in the tiebreaker there in Salt Lake City.
Well, he almost had a clutch win against Dave Chapman. I know this isn't a game of almosts.
Well, you're right.
But
he was 2 points at 24-24 from
19.
beating Dave Chapman in Fresno.
7 plays 19.
At this point, Dave, Chip Morales should be looking to get his energy up, try and
8
get a
plays
little bit of
19.
momentum going into the tiebreaker, where he's been completely flatlined here throughout this entire second game. And that's not a good shot. This is sloppy handball right now. Difficult for Luis Cordova to play against somebody, Dave, that's really not giving more than 50%, and then that sort of creeps into your own game, and you start thinking to yourself, what am I doing here? I don't know how to
9
play
plays
right now. This
19.
guy's not trying. Should I be trying?
9 serves 19. Chip's now just going right down the middle with either a huge reverse or a big natural. This time, Cordova gets his 20th point.
And there's Luis's bread and butter that he missed at 23-22 in the first game. That was a huge miss. That would have given him a couple of game points.
20 plays 9.
That was the first miss I've ever seen from Luis Cordova where his timing was completely out of sync with his feet and his upper body. And that was why he missed that shot. And it was out of sorts there, Dave, because he was a little bit nervous on that shot at 23-22. And this is just sloppy handball. Luis with an off-speed, shoulder-high corner kill.
I think he sees that Chip has got this strange body language. After Chip hits a ball, he just stands there. And so Cordova says, I can stand there too after I hit mine, but I'm going to hit mine lower.
9.
And I think that's where the competition has become now, is to see who can act more lackadaisical. That ball was like a screen, no call from the referee, probably a good no call.
Chip had this body language when he and I played in Salt Lake City a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't reciprocate with any 50% effort.
It's your last timeout. Scores 22-9.
You see that sometimes in practice when a top player is playing against somebody else who hits a ball behind their back or between their legs, and so the top player just waits, and the very next one they do the same thing, as if to say, well, and the crowd goes crazy when the players do it, and so the top players will all do that on the next shot, and it's sort of like that becomes the competition because the actual game itself is rather boring. And these are just some of the little idiosyncrasies that happen in handball. I know you've been around that before. You know, we play in Tucson, Arizona. We have some flashy players down there, the Luis Morenos and the Sean Lennings, who can pretty much make any shot from any position on the court. I know in Pittsburgh you've got those great players like Mike Simplis and Joe Del Sardo and yourself, and guys are all incredible athletes. And of course your father.
Resuming play.
Well, he's our number 3 ranked player.
22 plays 9.
Is that on the ladder?
Yeah. This game, Dave, has become painful to watch. Fortunately, it's not nearly as long as that first game, which was incredible to watch.
23 plays 9.
Luis Cordova hanging out in the back court there. These guys play really close.
Just a
Chip-
terrible rally in every way. No footwork, no fundamentals from either guy
24
there.
plays 9.
Ball skipped, right?
It did.
10 plays 24.
Strange that Chip called the timeout at 22-9, David. It's not as though he's making a big effort to win this game. Wouldn't you just rather get the game over with, take your time between games, and regroup for game number 3? I just don't understand that timeout there. I don't
11 plays
understand calling a
24.
timeout if you know that you have no chance to win the game. You're not even going to make much of an effort to win the game. Is that just for an extra 1 minute of rest?
I would say that a smart timeout would be now, and then go ahead and lose the match so you can extend that in between game 3
12
minute to
plays
maybe a 4 or
24.
5 minute. Take
Okay.
up all of the rest of your timeouts now.
Okay.
Try to get as much time as you can. It's
That's
obviously
game.
Chip is going to play hard here in game number
3
2. It
minutes.
is Luis Cordova taking down Chip Morales in a very lopsided second game. We will have a tiebreaker in less than 4 minutes. You stick around right here at racefor8.com.
Zero plays 0. Point.
And we are back into
One,
action
play
here
0.
on the show court. 1-0 to start this tiebreaker, which is played to 25. Rally scoring.
Luis Cordova starting the tiebreaker with an ace lob serve crack, and Chip Morales will need to get off to a good start. Otherwise, I think we'll see those shoulders slump.
Two,
If Chip
play
Morales
0.
Dave is able to be competitive here in the early goings of this third game, I think we'll see a really good tiebreaker. If Chip Morales Dave gets down, I think we could see those shoulders starting to slump. We'll definitely see Chip Morales making a
3,
huge
play
push over the
0.
next 4 or 5 minutes. If he finds himself down 8 or 9, 1 or 2, could be a bad situation for Chip. And that's a terrible shot from Chip. Just doesn't seem like these guys are hitting the ball with much authority right now, Dave. I don't know if that's fatigue, Dave, but just not a lot of hard hit balls right now.
Now, before this match, you played. How solid are the courts? It seems
Well,
soft to me.
I would say the court is a medium speed. It's not really slow, but it's slower than most of the courts that we've played on in the Race for 8. Now, I
1,
compare
place
a court
3.
to where I play at home and where I train where it's much slower. So it's faster than that, but certainly not as fast as Fresno. I would compare it to Salt Lake City.
You probably like that then.
I do. I prefer the slower court. That's just a terrible shot from Chip. And that's even worse.
Point.
I thought he was going to go back to return the serve there, Dave, like you do. You actually have a spin move. As soon as you hit a bad shot, you spin off your right foot and just start walking
plays
backwards
1.
towards the back wall to return the serve. And I like it,
Short.
actually. I want you to know that I notice it. I respect it. And I
Second
want to
serve.
start using it.
But you don't play 50%.
No.
See, I've got a different philosophy than you. If I don't make the shot that I was trying to make or something, a reasonable facsimile
Yeah.
thereof,
Uh-huh.
I actually just turn around,
5,
walk
plays
out,
1.
get my bag,
Oh, okay.
take off my gloves, my goggles, put it down on the floor,
Uh-huh.
pull my wallet out and my Android phone
Yeah.
and my keys, and
Yeah.
I hightail it out of the club, and I won't come back for 6 months.
But yet you were upset with Emmett when he threw away his bag and all his gloves at his Watsonville event. But I don't know why you were upset with him
I
when
wasn't
you
upset.
do the
6,
same.
play 1.
I wasn't upset.
Oh.
He threw it in the garbage. Somebody can use my garbage.
Okay.
I was trying to keep it green. I was ahead of my time. And there's a nice shot right there from Chip Morales into the left corner.
2, play 6.
So they say handball is not an expensive sport, but for you, I think it would be, having to buy new gloves, new goggles, and new shoes every time you play.
Yeah, I
That
actually.
can get a little bit
It's
expensive.
been very expensive. That's why I stopped golfing.
Yeah, I could see that. Now,
I
when you're
took my-
golfing, do you just throw away the club that was offensive or the
No,
whole bag?
No, the whole bag. So
Oh, okay.
3, play 6.
I started playing with just 3 clubs just to reduce the
Yeah.
cost. I was at Harbor Links Golf Course
Yeah,
in beautiful Klamath Falls, Oregon, overlooking Klamath Lake.
yeah.
And there on hole number 15 on the back 9,
So you must have been playing pretty well if you still had your clubs through 14 holes.
No, I was playing. I had a great round of golf.
Yeah.
But then I
7, play
hit one
3.
out into the jetty area
Uh-huh.
that circles the lake, and decided that that was the last time I was ever going to hit a golf ball. So I took my club and my bag, and I nicely put my my club back into the bag, and I threw it right out into the lake. And that's where it sits.
So it's in the bottom of a lake, though.
8,
It
plays
was.
3.
But I forgot my car keys in the bag, so I had to go back out and get it, but then I left the bag there.
I don't know how
I
green that
deserve
is,
that,
though.
by
I'm
the
not
way.
saying there's anything wrong with it. I just don't know if that's good for the animal plant life inside that lake.
That's true. Good point. I deserved every bit of that, having to go back into the water thing. I was actually
4,
telling
plays
myself I'm
8.
happy I'm having to do this. 4 serves 8. Chip Morales playing a little bit more aggressive here, Dave. I'm actually getting better at golf now. I'm missing the ball a little closer.
That was a beautiful shot from Luis Cordova, who backed up and set his feet and hit a great 2-inch high kill. Watch how he backs up here. Now he's set up. He pushes off that back foot, which is his right foot, Chip's already leaning left because he knows Luis has to go left from there. And Luis hits a 2-inch high kill with a little bit of a natural on it. And I like to see players, Dave, hitting the ball with a natural when they're hitting across their body, because then that ball really jumps away from the returning player.
Cordova serving.
Generally, you want to hit a reverse
Resuming play. 9
when you're
plays
going
4.
closer to the wall. Hold the ball on the wall. Here's a big setup for Luis. And he does not get in a good position. Chip will reset the rally with a 3-wall shot, and that's a terrible shot from Luis Cordova. Almost no chance for Luis Cordova to return that when he's put himself behind and to the side of Chip Morales
5
there.
plays 9.
Chip Morales within 4 at 5-9. Goes down the right, ball just over the short line.
That's a good shot from Chip, pushing Luis back, and he's got a big setup here. Now we're starting to see some power from Chip Morales, who can hit the ball hard. It's interesting, Dave, you talked to Chip and he said, you know, I just don't hit the ball as hard as these guys, meaning those top 5 or 6 guys. But I believe Chip does hit a really nice ball.
Point.
That ball hit Luis Cordova right there.
Just unbelievable. What an air there. Mental air from Luis Cordova. That ball moving just about 10 miles per hour.
Score now 6-9. I think Luis took his eye off the ball. Thought that it wasn't going to hit him.
6 play 9.
And you know how big that is in rally scoring, Dave. If he gives Chip the shot there and he doesn't make it, it's 10-5. Instead, he gives Chip a point without even having to hit the ball.
Second serve coming from Chip Morales. This is
Second
the men's
serve.
round of 16, the opening of the top 12. Player that wins will be into that top 8.
Nice shot there from Chip Morales. Very patient there, waited on it, set himself up and hit a beautiful left-handed kill, front wall, sidewall.
Chip Morales' wife sitting courtside here watching, and as well as the Pachotes, who
7 play 9.
have been big fans of Chip Morales back in the Watsonville days. I believe Chip lived with Emmett for a couple weeks. They trained together.
They're a ray of sunshine when they enter the building.
All smiles on the Pachotes' faces. Some families, you see them come in and they're scowling because they had traffic to go through, not the Pachotes.
Right.
They've always got smiles on their faces.
And positive things to say.
10 play 7.
Everything is meant to be positive, Dave.
Strange shot there from Luis Cordova.
I mean, Michael Jordan knew that Reggie Miller didn't foul him, but he went to the ref anyway to try to see if he can get a call later. So everything that's said to you is done in a positive way.
It's your
Right.
first
Could have a
timeout.
positive
Score
meaning,
is
not necessarily
8-10.
now, but maybe later.
They plant the seed for positivity.
There's Sean Linning on the right behind Chip Morales is legendary top 5 pro Courtney Pachote, sitting next to her mother, Margie Pachote. In the scooter wheelchair is Waif Reisner.
8-10,
We're
yeah.
seeing portions of him in the background. His tournament has drawn a lot of enthusiasm around these parts. He played back in the Jimmy Jacobs days and was one of the top handball pros here at the LAAC, turning 104 months. Waif Reisner has been around Los Angeles Athletic Club since the handball club formed back in the 50s.
There's not many sports, Dave, where the announcers can actually name every person in the crowd during a 1-minute timeout. That's one of the beauties of handball.
Resuming play. 8 plays 10. Short.
Good camera work right there from Omar Lemus.
Second serve.
Oddly enough, I know everybody in the crowd, but I don't know half the people that work for us.
Well, you need a lot of employees when you have this amount of people to try and organize.
And there's a point for Luis Cordova.
11 plays 8.
I just don't understand that return from Chip Morales. That was the first time he's done anything with that, but that's not a high percentage play, taking the ball on the short hop and killing it in the left corner right in front of the server.
9
I don't
plays
think
11.
Luis expected Chip to move in on that ball.
Point. 10 plays 11.
And that was an ace serve down the left for Chip, and now it's 10-11. Here's a chance to tie the game for Chip.
Now, Chip normally gets most of his aces down the right wall, Dave, but he is crafty down the left. And there's another point. Chip is now looking back at the crowd, feeling much more confidence now, and it looks like Cordova looks like he's a little bit out of breath.
Well, I think it's disconcerting for
11
Luis
plays
Cordova,
11.
who just won that second game so easily, and now all of a sudden it's like he's playing against a different player. I believe this is Chip's best serve, the natural down the left that goes behind him, nearly unreturnable when he's hitting it well.
What Chip tries to do here
11.
is aim in his mind toward his backside, his bottom.
And Luis goes for the reinvention, but he need to hit that straight, not using the corner. And that's a beautiful pass from Luis, but Chip runs it down.
How did Chip get that ball back? And then why is he hitting the ball so softly to Luis Cordova like that? What a strange into the rally right there. Chip made an incredible get and then just flips the ball back.
12 plays 12.
We're all together at 12.
This match, Dave, is so similar to the match that Chip Morales won against Tommy Little in the last event, where Chip gave away the second game, much like he did here, and then won a very close tiebreaker, 25-20, that was close throughout that entire third game.
Hold
And we're
it.
seeing the same thing
Replay.
now.
Replay called there. Referee called hold it. This is one of
12
the first times I've
plays
seen
12.
this before the actual screen occurred, because he knew it was going to happen, and it did.
Beautiful adjustment there from Luis Cordova's. Chip just barely was able to get that ball back to the front wall, and Luis shuffling his feet. Shuffle kills a ball at just
13
about
plays
15
12.
miles per hour, front wall, sidewall. Chip should have followed that shot in, Dave, because Luis's only shot there is to re-kill, and now Chip with an inexplicable lack of concentration error on a relatively neutralizing
14 plays 12.
underhand lob serve from Luis Cordova.
Nope. That's a point for Luis Cordova.
Very unlucky there, actually, for Chip, as Luis with a complete hand error there, Dave, falling backwards with his left hand, and the ball literally just rolled out. It's one of those freak things, and let's take an instant replay of that as Luis Cordova falling back to his left. Just one of those shots that you're just trying to return to the front wall and put into a kind of a neutral position for your opponent, but this time the ball just rolls out flat. I believe it's right here, Dave. And I'm surprised Chip didn't dive into that ball, leave his feet before, and give himself a little bit more burst into that ball. Instead, he stayed on his feet and dove after he hit it. I think had he dove into the shot, he would have had a much better chance for the get and re-kill.
Resume play. 15 plays 12.
Cordova's now won 3 consecutive points, Dave. Here's a huge setup for Chip. And he takes care of it. Beautiful shot straight down that right side wall.
And you see Chip pointing at his head saying, that's
13
smart.
plays 15.
You're thinking now.
You see that time, Dave, Chip went to the dive into the ball rather than hitting and then diving. Beautiful shot from Luis Cordova. That's a very difficult shot, Dave, to reset yourself there and drive the ball back down the right.
16 play 13.
Takes a lot of shoulder strength to hit that ball back down the right from that position, Dave.
Terrible miss there. It was not a good shot from Luis Cordova. Could have done virtually anything with that ball from the short line with his right hand and left it way up. That was actually a setup for Chip that he missed. Didn't even go for the kill, though. And that's a great shot from Chip. He straightens out a fist pass. Luis Cordova off balance as he
Check the
slipped.
floors.
2 shots prior to that pass from Chip, and Chip took advantage
No?
with an over-the-top punch fist pass that Luis Cordova had no play on. Luis just hoping that ball would clip the left side wall,
14 plays 17.
but it didn't. And that's a terrible serve from Chip. And that time it's Luis Cordova coming over a pass. Just enough reverse, Dave, to grab the floor and straighten out into that back left
18
corner.
plays 14.
Virtually the same shot that Chip just won his 14th point with. And now Chip with a terrible return of serve air, driving the ball straight into the ground off the
19 plays
bottom
14.
of his hand. That's like one of those shots in tennis, Dave, where you just hit the frame.
Cordova has a setup here. A little bit of congestion there.
I agree with the call there from our referee. Chip put himself in a bad position there. He put himself on Cordova's right. He didn't have to put himself there, Dave. He could have put
20
himself
plays
behind
14.
Cordova. And I think that's a great call from our ref. You see, most refs would have called that a hinder, but you have to realize that you can't have the whole court when you give your opponent a huge setup. And now Chip with a terrible error. And Chip now is on the verge of seeing his Cinderella race
21
grade season
plays
come to an
14.
end, Dave, as he will not be able to accumulate enough points with a loss here to qualify for the TPC. You'd like to almost go in there and shake Chip and say, this is your last chance. This is your last opportunity here. You've worked so hard throughout this season. You got to let it all hang out right here.
I would like to go in there and just shake Chip.
Okay.
Just shake him.
Okay.
15 plays 21.
15 serves 21.
We've only seen one time, Dave, in the history of rally scoring, a player getting to 21 first and not winning the game, and that was Sean Lennon coming back on Luis Moreno in Atlanta in a match that he ended up losing. But it'll be very difficult for Chip to come back and win here, particularly now trailing 22-15 with Luis Cordova in the server's box, needing just to win just 3 more rallies to
22
advance here to
plays
the round of
15.
8. Luis Cordova, Dave, will be part of that champagne bath that's going to be happening on Saturday night for those 8 winners, those 8 qualifiers to Seattle. I know the pros are forced to wear a suit and tie, Dave, at all times, but they might not want to wear their best when that champagne is flying around.
Well, even with a win here, Cordova, there's still a slight
23
possibility
plays
that
15.
he wouldn't be invited. Our viewers are going to be watching his
That's
next
actually
round.
Oh, you
true.
were? I thought you were.
And they're coming out to make sure he puts the nail in the coffin. At the next round, we will reveal.
24 match points, serves 15.
Well, if Andy Nett makes the semifinals and Emmett Peixote
Nice
wins
pass.
the event, Luis
Then
could be
that's-
knocked out.
And I believe Cordova's slapping his hands together because he works those rankings and the seeds as much as anybody else. The score line here, Cordova loses the first one 26-24, wins the second game 25-6, and then 25-15 over Chip Morales. We have another great match coming up right around the corner here as Emmett Peixote will face Andy Nett. We're going to take a break for Dave Fink, Omar Lemus, and Linda Manning. My name is Dave Vincent. We'll be back right around the corner here at racefor8.com.
It's time to join forces. Get energized. And fuel up right. Because starting today, every kid in America has a mission. Bring the action hero in you. Be part of the greatest action movie ever. The first movie that puts you in the action. Show us how you train and eat like an action hero. Join in at actionheroalliance.com.
$7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's a line of desks more than 4 miles long. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future.
My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at ready.gov.